Good evening. The meeting for the pre-agenda meeting for the Spencer Board is called to order. Please bow your head for the invocation. Dear Father, be with us tonight as we work on town business for the betterment of Spencer. Be with our citizens and help them understand that by us working together, we will all be winners. Thank you to our wonderful staff for all the solutions and all of the issues that they work with. We know that all things are possible through you. We beseech your help. Amen. Amen. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we are now going to open the floor for the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2023-24 budget. And Mr. Franzese, we're going to ask you to present to us some of the information that we need to hear.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. As you recall, the budget was presented at your meeting in May, and we did have a budget workshop following that. And on the agenda for next week, we do have an adjusted budget ordinance for your consideration that takes into effect all the requested changes and the discussions we had. And so, tonight's purpose is to conduct the required public hearing for the recommended budget next year. As you'll recall, the recommended tax rate is at 55 cents per $100 of valuation. And pending the conclusion of the public hearing this evening, you would be free to adopt the budget at any point after that. And again, we are prepared for you to consider an updated ordinance on Tuesday.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Franzese? Okay, according to our sign-up sheet, I do not have anyone that has signed up to speak at the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak that I don't see? Okay. Did we get any written correspondence in reference to that?
Yes, there was one letter which has already been forwarded to the board from a Mr. Thomas Streeny of 15 Beauregard Drive in Spencer, North Carolina.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before this is closed? Okay, I now need a motion to close this public hearing.
Make a motion we close the public hearing, please.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Miller has made the motion. Mr. Muhammad has seconded. All in favor? The public hearing is closed. Okay, we will now move to the second public hearing for ordinance 2317 for motorized vehicles in the public parks. I do not have anyone signed up on the sheet. I don't see anyone. Is there anyone out there that wishes to speak to this? Okay, Mr. Blunt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. You have in your package a copy of the suggested text amendment to section 71.42 of our Code of Ordinances. This text amendment was brought about by concerns of our police department that we were unable to clearly enforce what was always intended, which is not to have motorized vehicles in our parks, especially with the new section of the standback forest, which has long been used for four-wheelers. We need this text amendment so that when those folks are found in the park on motorized vehicles, they can be cited for it. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
There's not a problem with motorized vehicles
at the ballpark? Because I know some people drive to the ballpark and watch the games and stuff like that. There wouldn't be an issue with that.
It wouldn't be an issue with this ordinance, but you can't ride a four-wheeler on streets, public streets. That would be illegal also.
I think you were asking about golf carts.
Golf carts are
Yeah.
a totally different section.
Okay.
They're regulated by a different section.
Okay, so that's not.
Yeah,
So-
golf carts are okay.
So they're not included. Okay.
Yeah,
Just
golf
for the
carts.
clarity.
Golf cart, well,
Okay.
golf carts could not be ridden into the standback forest because there will be a sign there that says no motorized vehicles. But as far as driving a golf cart to the 8th Street Park or any of the other parks and parking it and watching the activities, that's fine.
Now, if somebody wanted, if this were adopted, if somebody drove a golf cart to the ballpark and then went and started driving around
Yeah.
the field with it, then we'd have
Then
something
you have
to,
different.
Sure, I
That's
understand
different.
that.
which, so it's the same issue.
And so this would not impact the trails that will be developed between our Yadkin River Park and town. Is that correct?
The EB 5861 is a urban greenway, which would be sidewalks and bike paths and multi-use paths going from the town out there. It's already illegal to drive a motorized vehicle on a sidewalk, but you can drive it on, the golf carts can be driven on the public streets per another section of our ordinance. So golf carts are okay. Once they get to the park, they can't drive it into the park. They can park in the parking lot, but they can't obviously drive on any trails we have down there. Unless the town were to create a trail. If at some point the town creates a combination bicycle, mini bike, motocross track on a piece of property, then we'd need to modify this to designate that it is okay to use it on those properties. But you don't have that right now.
And just so I'm sure, a golf cart can be driven on our town-owned streets, but not on the main highway. Is that correct?
I don't administer that program, but I believe you're correct. That's
Chief
the
Powell, would
police.
you be able to speak to that?
I would have to read it. But, yeah, limited based upon miles per hour. Where we use our permit is for anything other than miles per hour is not allowed to cross.
So this particular text amendment has nothing to do with the golf carts. That's a totally another section.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Did we receive any correspondence about this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion, close the public
Okay.
hearing, please.
Mr. Miller, second.
Second.
Mrs. Sledge, all in favor? Okay, the public hearing is closed.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, if I could
Yes.
ask a moment of indulgence. It's a strange week for me. I'm working magistrate's office today, so I'm coming up here on my break to do this. And I'll also be working Tuesday night when you have your regular meeting. Because that agenda will be much longer, I'm going to try to avoid having to come and spend a great deal of time here, because this is normally where I go home and eat dinner and have a nap. But I did want to point out that on the agenda for Tuesday, you have three other items that pertain to the planning. Item 8 is the appointment of Jessica Jackson to the planning board. She will meet with the planning board members on Monday night before your meeting, and then she will be here to introduce herself to this board. If this board so pleases at that time, I would appreciate you appointing her as a member. Item 13 is what we just talked about, the text amendment for motorized vehicles in the park. Item 14 is approval of resolution to oppose Senate Bill SB 675, which is the ETJ bill, and I've kept y'all up to date on that, so you're aware of it. So this will just be a formal approval of that resolution. And then, of course, my planning report is in your packet.
Okay.
If you have any questions on that, you can get in touch with me. So I'll try to attend for a little while on Tuesday, but if I'm not here for those, you'll at least know what they are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Madam
Thank you,
Chair,
Mr. Blunt.
Mr. Blunt,
Yes, ma'am.
would it be appropriate for us to approve that resolution in regard to Senate Bill 675 so that it can be addressed? Do we know when that's coming to a vote? It's come out of rules.
It's out of committee, and there's a line of bills lining up now to be taken in before the full body. This one is still very controversial. I won't say it's controversial. It's got a lot of opposition from various parties. So I think they'll probably slow walk this one as compared to some of the others. But I can't promise that. The only thing about approving it tonight is it would be a modification of your agenda. And I think Tuesday will be soon enough.
It appears that the bill has passed, as of today, it's passed a second and third reading in the Senate.
So it's getting close. I have already contacted our legislators and told them from a planner's perspective that why I oppose it. I think the mayor has contacted them personally.
I've
And you've
contacted
contacted,
Senator Ford.
Sometimes resolutions, although they look pretty, don't have as much impact as somebody contacting them directly and telling them their piece about it. This one's got a lot of, this has been on the agenda at the state legislature for about a decade. And there are some folks that are really adamant about doing away with ETJs. And this is their opportunity. They've got the majority, and they've got a full head of steam, and they're trying to get some of their past things accomplished during this period of time. I'm not sure there's anything we can do to stop it. If it goes ahead, it's going to be a mess, let me tell you.
Well, I mentioned it today at our economic development meeting, and explained why we were in opposition to it. I don't think that's in conflict with the county's economic development.
It's questionable whether and we haven't heard from the County Commission Association whether they oppose it or not. Some county leadership thinks that we ought to do away with ETJs. They think the folks that are in the ETJs aren't being represented by the municipalities, and yet they're ruled by the municipal codes as far as zoning and subdivision. So the Municipal Association is certainly opposed to it. The North Carolina Planning Association is opposed to it. Most of certainly all the large municipalities are opposed to it. They have made some twerks in the third edit of it to change who it impacts, and actually changed it so that some of the larger counties, that they would not have to do this over some period of time. But it's the smaller counties that get hurt most. There's still a handful of counties in the eastern part of the state that don't have zoning regulations. So you're going to take property that's now controlled by a municipal zoning document and just uncontrol it, no control at all. And that's where your growth is going right now, is right around municipalities, as y'all have seen. So it's a bad thing, but sometimes you can't stop those, and you just have to learn to live with them. We'll find a way to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Okay, we'll now go to the review of the May 19th, 2023 agenda. And if the board would review the agenda and see if there's anything that you feel can be moved to the consent agenda, we will do that first.
Madam Chair, I think the approval of minutes can be moved. I don't think there was anything there that was questionable.
Okay.
Well, I don't
So-
know. I heard a squeak down here, so maybe.
Okay, anything else, the minutes, anything else that someone sees that can be moved to the consent agenda? The liens. What number is that? 17, okay. Board okay with that?
That's good.
Okay.
One thing I would mention is that the ordinance, the number 12 which is an amendment grant project ordinance for our ARPA projects. That's simply updating those to. There's really not any changes in the the content of what we're doing, but it's simply getting our numbers in line as we're moving forward with that project.
Okay. Would that be appropriate for the consent agenda too then? Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we'll have the minutes on the consent agenda, number 12, and the liens, number 17, correct? Okay. Is there a volunteer to do the invocation for the Tuesday meeting? Any volunteers to do the invocation? Thank you, Sam.
Rashid raised his hand.
Did you raise your hand? I didn't see it. You won't let Rashid do it this time? He raised his hand.
Sure.
Okay.
Very
I
good.
think he had his hand up and I didn't see it. Okay. Thank you. Okay, are there any additional comments for the minutes reviewed for Ms. Sledge? Or anything that they're added to the consent agenda, so I'm assuming everybody's read them and that you were okay with it, okay? Okay, any additions or deletions to the agenda at this time?
I have one thing that
Okay.
was brought up last year, and then again a couple of months ago, and that's regarding a speed hump in my neighborhood.
Okay.
And Steve Blunt asked both Gene McCoy, who lives in Steeplechase, and I to canvass our neighborhoods, which we did. We contacted almost all of the families, and also left material for them to contact Steve. And we were supposed to set up a meeting for the second week in June, a community meeting to for everyone to come together, whether they opposed it or they were in favor of it. So I don't know what the status of that is, but I know that the residents have been contacted.
Okay.
So
you want to update?
yeah, I'd like
Okay.
like an update, and because I'm getting people calling me asking when's the
Okay.
meeting, and we were, he told us to again contact all the residents, and that we would set up a meeting for one night, first part of June, and it's June.
Okay, and you want this added to the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay. Will you take care of that, Anna? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other additions to the agenda? Any deletions? Okay,
One thing I'll mention is that number 9, we're going to be making an adjustment to that item. That these are related to some grants for our public art program. The second one listed there in the amount of $4,426 is actually one that had already been factored on a previous budget amendment, but we had since received some funding from another source. So we're going to tweak this item. It's going to wind up being two
Okay.
$5,000 grants rather than a $5,000 and a $4,426.
okay,
So just wanted y'all to know that when you looked at it next time, why it would be a little different, but we'll take care of that.
okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, let's move to recognitions. Does anyone have any recognitions they want to add to the agenda?
I wanted to publicly thank the Schultzes for their work with the senior.
Yeah, because they were on vacation the last time, weren't they? Okay, so you'll thank the Schultzes for the senior citizen dinner. Organizing it more. Okay, anything else? Okay. Okay, is there anything else that needs to be added to the agenda before we state that it's set? Okay, let's go through it very quickly and, see if we've got it set. Call to order by the mayor. He should be here by then, unless he gets detained. I don't think he will. Okay, invocation and pledge. The minutes have been moved to the consent agenda. Additions, deletions, and adoption of agenda. The recognitions will be mine for the students of fourth quarter, and Pat doing the Schultz's for the senior citizen dinner. Public comment, then the consent agenda. Number 8, appointing Jessica Jackson to the planning board. 9, adopting budget ordinance 2313. 10, consider adopting budget ordinance 2314 for the fiscal year. 11, consider adopting budget ordinance 2315 for additional funding from Rowan County for first responders, Spencer Moose Lodge, and a private donation. 12, consider adopting budget ordinance 2316, amending the Town of Spencer grant project. That's going to be on the consent agenda. Consider adopting ordinance 2317 to amend Chapter 7, Section 71.42, the Town's Code of Ordinances. Number 14, consider adopting Resolution 2312 for North Carolina Senate Bill 675, the one that we've been getting information on. Consider adopting number 15, Resolution 2313 for establishing the criteria for selecting the design, build, construction project delivery method. 16, consider awarding the bid for the street paving. And then on the consent agenda will be number 17, the liens. 18, departmental reports. 19, town manager reports. 20, requests and comments. 21, executive session if needed, and then 22, adjournment. Any other comments or changes on the agenda? Okay, then the agenda is set. And Anna, you said you'd take care of that one thing. Okay, do we have is there a motion for the meeting to be adjourned?
Is there a need for, you should ask if there's a need for executive.
Once over, always look at me.
It says adjournment here, and then I ask about that. Oh, I guess I need to ask first. Is there a need to go into executive session?
Not from my
I'm not
perspective.
aware of any.
And how about a public comment or board comment?
Oh, okay.
I have a comment.
Very good.
And it's more of a recognition. But I want to personally thank Chief Lanning and several of his staff that showed up at my house a couple of Sunday nights ago when my wife went into almost anaphylactic shock. She had a allergic reaction to some medication, and they were there within a very short period of time. What started out as a very scary evening turned into one that ended very well. And I want to thank you again. Please thank the rest of your staff that showed up.
Yeah, they're the best. They've been at my house a few times too. Okay, anybody else on the board have a comment they want to make?
I just wanted to say that I'm sorry that I was not able to be at the swearing-in ceremony this past week. I didn't leave my twin great-grandbabies until about 7 o'clock. So.
And I had to miss that too. Any other comments? Okay. And we said there's no need for executive session, correct? Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved, Sam, Rasheed, second, all approved? Okay, we are adjourned.